Well, as we heard in this story, King Nebuchadnezzar is quite a character. I mean, he's crazy often, telling people, if you don't do my will, I'm going to kill you. And then things kind of fall out as they have, and he changes his mind, and he tends to promote these people that he was just about to murder. In fact, in this story, unlike before with Daniel, he actually tried to, throwing Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the fire because they didn't worship his gods. In fact, not even his gods, but a flat golden image that he had made up. I think we all can be kind of like that, right? Get upset with people for not doing our way. We get touchy at times. And maybe we can be that hurtful in our hearts, at least, where we dismiss others. I think we see it historically, especially. We see it across the world also, where people with their religion, whatever it is, kind of remove the soul from it, remove that human-like nature of God. We see that in the fire when God appears, someone like a son of the gods. There is this tendency in Scripture to paint the picture of God as a human, and I think there's a reason for it. When we worship something flat, something without real interconnection and emotion, sometimes, as we hear in the stories of the Old Testament, something without any perceived imperfections, so to speak, something that's not a thing that we grapple with because it's of our own making. It's a flat, golden image that we ourselves have concocted. We don't have to grapple with our own flat, golden images. If we say that's supposed to be worshipped, I don't have to fight with it. I end up fighting with those who don't worship it, with those who don't agree with what I feel and how I want them to behave. And so we're kind of like King Nebuchadnezzar sometimes with our flattened image of God or whatever it is we worship in our lives. But there's hope for us, even to the extent we're like that, even to the extent that human history has had some really sad moments where we've mistreated each other. And we do it in our families. We do it with our siblings. Where we get angry not because they really did something bad and hurtful and we want it to stop, but because they're not towing the party line, right? And it's sad. But as in our story, I think there's a part of us that still endures. An innocent part of us, that kind of nice, welcoming, friendly part that's at the middle, the beginning of our soul, so to speak. And that overcomes any fire, any trial and tribulation, we're told. In fact, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, their names mean kind of what we're getting at when we say there's a part of us that overcomes any trial, any fire. Shadrach means royal, something truly royal in the line of God. Meshach means the one who follows God. And Abednego represents the servant of the prophet. All of these things, the prophet, the person that really speaks through us and to us when it's really true, when it's really kind and uplifting, that's God. All the prophets in the stories, from Muhammad to the prophets in the Jewish gospel, were in the mode of divine proclamation. They shared messages that people needed to hear at the time. Not always the easiest message, mind you, but often empowering and a call to heal. And I think we can do that as well. We can actually ask someone in our family to treat us better when we need it. We can share when we're upset, when we're uncomfortable. We can also take it too far as we saw with King Nebuchadnezzar. And so those three, if we really think about what their names meant, which in the original story, in the original language, everyone knew what each name meant. It was like being called autumn morning in English, right? And when we heard this story, when they would reflect on these tales, these deeper points were obvious, more obvious than even today, unfortunately. That the true royalty of our lives, that part of us that serves goodness and life, is the thing that overcomes. Doesn't matter how hard things get, it's there. But there's a risk here, right? Not everyone who enters the fire survives. I think there's a part of us, kind of like those guards we heard about, that just kind of fall into behaving hurtfully. The guards in our story were just following orders. They just fell in line. But they were the ones consumed by the fire immediately because it was so hot with the rage of the king. And I think when we give in to our own hurt and rage, when we think of other people as separate from us, as not worthy a benefit of the doubt, love, compassion, life, we become consumed. We become part of the fire. In our culture wars today, we see that often, where, it doesn't matter how right we are, whether you're liberal, conservative, or something else. Often we use petty methods. We use hurtful, fiery behaviors because of the faults of the other people, because we're uncomfortable with their view, because what they're doing is hurtful in itself, maybe even much more hurtful than our petty methods. But we still kind of buy into that behavior, that arrogance, that hurt, that unforgiveness, that judgment of each other. And we become part of the flame, part of the fire. But there's a natural assuredness I think we have, even no matter how far we go with it. I mean, in fact, if you go really far with it, we become really assured because we think everyone serves us. We're always right. We see that in certain people in our lives and ourselves at times, right? But there's a natural assuredness, I think, in our spirit because of that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego at the core of our being, that's in communion with God, even in the fire. Angels in our scriptures tend to represent divinity. They shine. They always have a message straight from God. And King Nebuchadnezzar calls this being an angel that appears in the fire. And I think our core selves are in communion with that angelic nature, with that God, even at the hardest of times. And we can learn to become more attuned to it. We can learn to let go of the fire. We can learn to kind of settle our minds, I think it often takes. All this strife, this judgment, we follow our thoughts, we follow our desires here and there. You don't have to. They can come and they can go. We don't have to follow every idea in our minds. And in fact, we're told that will bring a peace beyond imagination. It's a tradition in Buddhism to ask for that. I think it's part of the prayer life of Christians, of Jews, of Muslims. Many traditions are inviting that peaceful spirit that's in communion with God, in deep relationship and connection with God, even amidst the worst moments of our lives. So like Babylon, like the king Nebuchadnezzar, hopefully we can learn something even through our trials and our mistakes. There are many things I do that I wish I had done a little differently. There are even worse mistakes that we make, behaviors that we think are just ourselves, but they're really hurtful for ourselves because we're anxious, we're upset, we are very angry sometimes, uncomfortable, many things, right? That are kind of like that fire. And so letting that go, learning at least something from the king's progress and remarking at, wow, there is a part of me in that fire. No matter how hot I made it, 7 times hotter than usual this time, that endures. There's a deep innocence of life, like a child, like ourselves in our youth, like a baby even, that can learn, that can overcome, that is deeply insightful and wise. So calling that out in ourselves, seeing it in others, no matter the trappings of how they behave sometimes. Being willing to encourage it and uplift it, as we heard in our story, the king did, moving Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to a place of higher authority, and continuing this journey forward in life in deep communion with each other and God, even amidst our trials. Now, taking a moment to settle our minds, our bodies, just relaxing. Letting go of any pretense. We don't have to pretend to be something. Adjusting as feels good. Knowing that the core of our being is that royalty within, that servant of the prophet, that one who follows and is like the divine God. Just noticing our breath. Noticing what we see, if there's light through our eyelids. Just staying aware of our senses. Noting that thoughts of the past don't have to have any weight and are actually quite weightless in the light of God, the light of our own consciousness even. As we listen to this beautiful music.
Lord, I'm troubled and feeling trapped. Lord, I'm troubled and feeling trapped. I lost myself in someone else. Don't know if she's coming back. Lord, I'm lost. My heart is turning a page. Lord, I'm lost. My heart is turning a page. I long for the hands of another man. I think about it night and day. Lord, I must be crazy. Lord, I must be crazy. Tell me it's not too late to save me. Tell me it's not too late to save me. Lord, I'm guilty, broke his heart in two. Lord, I'm guilty, broke his heart in two. Made him cry, left him dry. What was I supposed to do? my lover, wants to seek revenge. Lord, my lover, wants to seek revenge. He'll chop me up, put me in a box, and mail my little body to France. Lord, tell me I'm crazy. Lord, tell me I'm crazy. Tell me it's not too late to save me. Tell me it's not too late to save me.